Previously on the SMITE Minor League.
It's Monday, everybody, which means we're starting your weeks off right with the SMITE Console League.
The 8th week of competition. Top of the seeds. Well, not top of the seeds, but in the middle of the pack right now versus the bottom. MV3 struggling a little bit. VGS trying to climb the standings to qualify to that HRX placements.
MV3 win the game.
I mean, MV3 starting off at the bottom of the standings, but overall played better today. Like I said, I just thought that Rayo and Mighty just played better than anybody else on the field today.
We're actually going into a pretty big matchup here in the Console League. It's going to be a rival going up against Dabo's Disciples. This is 1 and 2 here in Xbox EU, but you can tell where that gap's coming from. Those two losses from Dabo's are, of course, at the hands of rival.
I mean, look, if Dabo's Disciples win this, it was 13 weeks, so they might have, they'd have one more matchup against rival, so they would have to win out from here if they want to have a shot at being number one.
This is the difference between in-game leading of these two teams. 18 kills in 33 minutes as opposed to the 52 that we had in 48 minutes of play. Rival are cleaner about ending games when that window is presented to them. Now transitioning over to the PS4 NA side.
Should be exciting watching these guys go head-to-head. Talk to me about our matchup.
It's going to be Nemesis up against Big Money Esports.
Well, you look back at games, Finch, and Nemesis came into this needing the victory today, and they find it, and that's the most important thing for them.
Yeah.
Even if it is scrappy, even if it is messy at the tail end.
But I do think Blanche Fan Club actually lined up pretty well here up against Hype and have a pretty good chance to try and take this match out. It is going to start in these picks and bans phases, though.
But with another sanctified field, that's all she wrote. And Hype Unit danced their way to victory. A little distracted, but they're coming back. And the Titan falls down 23-3.
5-0-12 as Crimson's Raw, part of 17 of his team's 23 kills. Hype Unit making it look easy against a team that has a lot of talent, honestly.
So PS4 more up in the air. It looks as though Xbox, though, pretty confirmed.
Hello, welcome in. Happy Monday to all of you out there, and I hope you're ready for a great Console League day. I'm Aggro. I'll be introducing what we've got going on today, and as usual, we'll be kicking it off with PS4 in Europe. We're going to have OutCold Gaming up against the VGSGods, and this one is important because Aerial Arise has been up top in the standings so far this phase. OutCold trying to get there and overpass Aerial Arise and get back to land. But VGSGods might give them a little bit of trouble, only one game behind them, and they are 1-1 so far this year in their plays. And then we'll have PS4 Xbox right afterwards. It'll be Rival going up against Team Jellyfish. Team Jellyfish did end up popping off a little bit last week and getting a win, I do believe, but it's Team Rival, so we'll see if they can continue that. And if Rival can stay undefeated here in Phase 2, as they have just about locked up their spot for LAN. And we're talking about LAN because we're getting pretty close. We're in week 9 of 13 weeks, and it's only these top-end teams that are becoming to the placement weeks. You have to finish number 1 in each of your regions if you want to be coming here to the Skillshot Studios between November 3rd through the 8th is when those games will be played. And the top 2 of all the console teams and the bottom 4 SPL teams and the top 2 from each region SML teams are going to be fighting to go to the World Championships, which is, of course, here in Atlanta, Georgia, November 15th through the 17th. So make sure you keep your eyes on that. Again, top 1 in each region. Got to win your region and your platform if you want to make it. Aerial Arise right now sitting at 5-2. OutCold can get to 5 wins if they beat VGSGods. We'll find out on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.
And so now we get ready for OutCold versus VGSGods. And I promise we actually are about to start with the console league here today. My name is Finch. Happy that you joined us. I have right here next to me Tom F. Badinger. Tom, we're going to be handling some console from the desk here today, man. You ready? Exactly. Glad to hear that you are. This should be a big set. OutCold, remember, they were your representatives here at MSI. We expected them to be the top team, but right now they're looking up at Aerial Arise. No jokes intended there at 5-2. So this is a pretty important set if they can win it.
Absolutely. Taking this one will absolutely change the way the standings look right now, but more importantly than that, I'm looking for the quality on the field. I definitely want to see where these guys lie as far as their actual competitive nature is and where it winds up.
It's pretty important, too, because Just Lion was the hunter for this team when they came into the MSI. You know, the captain form, the one that you all saw when they played the mixed team matches as well towards the all-star portion of the event. So he's kind of like the face of this team in a bit of a way, and he made that big adjustment for them to the middle lane and has looked good there for them. But the question then becomes, you know, if they're moving Just Lion, can Raidunw kind of fill up those shoes for him in that hunter role where Just Lion used to be?
I think he can. I think that I think as we get ready to watch this next game, it'll all unfold. And for what it's worth, Just Lion's performance in that middle lane, kind of good enough.
Right.
So if Raidunw does kind of drop it a little bit in these interim weeks while he gets used to it, Just Lion can kind of cover those dark spots for sure.
I think so too. It does show to me that this team has some faith in that guy to be able to pull off the role for them in the middle lane, no problem. So let's jump into those picks and bans. Full Force, Hell, Isis, and King Arthur all taken out of the picture by OutCold. Meanwhile, Queenbox and Morrigan, along with Set, glad to see him get banned there too, at least for OutCold's sake. Or VGSGods sake, to say more accurately. So glad that he's been removed. But so far, these bans pretty meta.
Very standard stuff. I'm not really concerned about seeing anything banned away. The Hell, a little bit interesting. Not something that we see every day banned out, but on the console world, Hell has always been a little bit more important than some of the other choices.
Agreed, as Thoth gets picked in for the long lane, I have to assume here, right? That's become his new home, is Thoth ADC, so we'll see if that ends up in the hands of Raidunw or Just Lion. Perhaps takes the middle lane. Meanwhile, VGSGods has some big responses here with the Geb and the Thor.
Thor is one of the characters that's going to be able to hunt down the Thoth. Thoth shooting from long range. Thor can hit it either from the ultimate or even with the long range stun. One of the few characters with a range stun, and that's a nice look against Thoth guy. And then Geb, just a safe pick overall. Doesn't really show your hand whatsoever, but also really gets rid of a lot of the nonsense CC, and also just a strong defensive choice overall.
Yes, this should be good as Horus comes through to give them some aggression in the early game, along with the Naja. So I imagine this Naja now going to be heading over into the jungle, and then we'll see this Horus in the hands of Dragon King. OutCold's roster has been a bit shaky here this phase. It's felt like a little bit kind of like they haven't been able to quite keep all the same people out there on the field. I think Bevy was once on this roster for him, but when Dragon King's able to play for support for them, I feel like he adds a lot.
I've got to agree with that, but right away I want to jump back to the draft here because of this Chronos selection. Not my favorite choice. Chronos has kind of fallen in the ranks for a number of reasons. One, he was touched himself. Two, the rings have been nerfed a little bit as well. So the itemization and the character itself has been brought down a level. Still playable though. With all that said, a lot of it revolves around rewind and the ability to get that ultimate off. Thoth and Naja are two characters that take that opportunity away. So while I think that Chronos is still playable, John, I don't like it specifically into this draft.
It could be potentially tough. There's a lot of CC chains that this Chronos could get stuck inside of and perhaps never get the abilities off, but he does have the Geb shield. That can sometimes buy him a little bit of extra time, perhaps cleanse some CC, give him a moment to get that rewind off. The Thor there is a great setup. We'll see if it works for him later on as AMC and the Anhur have been taken away, and those are both mid-lane bans to me, which means at least VGSGods are pretty sure this Thoth can go into the long lane.
VGSGods draft here, they're going to follow that up with the Ravana as well, the Chronos and the Ravana. Thoth, like you said, VGS pretty sure that the Thoth will wind up in the long lane. The Ravana seems awkward to me. This is a dive character that really, I mean, you're going to dive the Thoth, sure, but there's a ton of players to really stop that. It's not my favorite choice. That alongside the Chronos, I'm leaning on the other side.
I think so too. We have seen a little bit more of this Ravana in the solo lane here lately, and between him and the Thor, that is a lot of potential to get towards that back line. It's just a question of how much work would they actually be able to do once they get back there. Maybe a little bit peel light on this team from OutCold. You probably want them to be doing, you want your Horse to do a little bit more frontline stuff, but I think there might be a chance for this backline, or for this backline dive to actually work.
It just might. The Neith is another interesting character. Backflip into the Spirit Arrow, explodes into a round of the way route. Should be nice.
It certainly should be as we get ready for game number 1 here. OutCold up against VGSGods. And it's still going to be Finch and Tom. Don't let things shake you all a little bit if you're out there. Yeah, Tom got shook by that a little bit too. So don't worry, we're going to keep moving right into the action. Doug is, of course, still the one bringing you all the vision. But yes, everything went where we expected to. It's Raidunw playing this Thoth in the long lane and then just Lion on the mid lane Neith.
Big poke already versus Mark. The Thoth player certainly knows what's going on here. Strong poke via the hieroglyphic assault is what you're looking for in the lane. Not only do you have the wave clear, but you want to keep this Chronos under control simply because I think it's easy.
That's going to be the plan if they can try and stop Sparky from having a big game. And VGSGods, I mean, I don't know if we had time to say during the pre-game, but I mean, this is no slouch team that OutCold are going up against here. VGSGods at 3-3 have also been able to find some pretty big wins themselves. So OutCold need this one to keep up with Aerial Arise, but I don't expect that to come easy.
We'll see. I'm there for VGS being a standout team, but OutCold Gaming has just continuously improved and impressed. Just Lion moving over to this mid lane, I think, was one of the more impactful moves that we've seen in the console league in general, and having Dragon King in that support role has been very important.
Yes, he's been big for this team as they look for some setup in the middle lane. First blood on the Drizzle, but they might not even be done yet. Vexuri is very low as well, but it's only Dragon King to keep it the chase. He finds the stun and a double kill to kick the game off.
As I said, I'm loving Dragon King in this support position.
Oh, fatality. That's no good if you end up falling here, my man, for a solo kill. He jukes around, buys some time, and has done enough to get himself out of there. I don't know if I want to give FataliTyxFire credit or if we want to say Bevy drops that one.
No, I want to give FataliTyxFire credit there. Used his minion wave fantastically, bobbed and weaved to make sure that Bevy couldn't actually find the basic attack. That's one that Bevy, can we look at what Bevy is leveling real quick? Pretty sure he has one. Yeah, that's it. If Bevy has access to the overhand kick, he wins that fight. Right now, he's kicking himself because he didn't put a point in number 2.
Definitely hurts him a little bit there that he didn't have any extra abilities to do some damage, even once body blocked by the minions. Raidunw trying to avoid getting caught by Sparky, evade and punish good, able to retreat, but still catches a lot of damage. We have a lot of people in danger getting soloed today, and Raidunw adds his name to the list. Sparky gets VGSGods on the board.
Nice look. Definitely not going to happen again. I really don't think so. Watching how the Chronos kind of played that, we'll take a look. It's just Lion burns the beats.
Not going to get to do any analysis this game because it's constant action. Eclipse makes his way out of there, just barely, but that means GunTeR Warriors are the next one in a spot of trouble. He repositions as well. Ooh. Oh, and those are the beads from Drizzle. I don't know if he understood that he wasn't really in that much danger.
You say that, but you're rooted for a split second. Dragon King turns around, GunTeR gets a sash, you die. So I think that it was not necessary because GunTeR was a little bit too out of range. But with your back to that nonsense, I think it's better safe than sorry. We've got the helicopter view, no problem. But I think in the moment, I don't hate that beads usage because, like I said, if those 3 players are there, you're dead.
He'll be slightly more vulnerable, as will... You know, I said Eclipse during the moment. Is it ECLPTX for this Ullr? Where are we landing on this? I said, I think ECLPTX is what he's going for.
The Ullr player in the middle lane.
He'll let us know, I assume, and I'm going to keep calling him ECLPTX on the back end of it, I guess. That'll be the best I could do.
I like ECLPTX, and yeah, definitely at f.ny, let us know what we're doing right and wrong.
FataliTyxFire survives yet again as Bevy looks for the dive. This Ravana in the soul lane has had the pressure here so far. Looks like he did finish that Glad Shield a little bit sooner, had teleported back in, so was trying to get a kill off that power spike, but couldn't find it.
You know, I wanted to talk about this dual lane matchup real quick, and Chronos gets the first blood in that lane. Not technically the first blood, but the first kill in between these two. And I don't think it's representative of the bigger picture. I'll tell you why. Sparky was looking for the basic attacks and couldn't find it and had to rush up the play. Chronos that's confident and will play consistently will back off because he knows the range of his basics and can play that fight. Sparky had to play up close and personal to Raidunw, which is the opposite of what you want to do. There, I think Raidunw was just kind of up a creek without a paddle, didn't have the tools available to them. Full kits, I think this Thoth player will actually outplay the Chronos. We'll keep an eye on that lane because everything I've seen so far, Finch, Sparky kind of got, I won't say lucky, but given an open opportunity.
Sure, more of a misplay from Raidunw perhaps than really Marky Sparky doing anything spectacular in that one particular play. We'll keep an eye on this lane as Marky Sparky already has the Pythagorean's piece finished off.
Even just the way he's moving, talking about Raidunw here, making sure to move from right to left, left to right as he's delivering those hieroglyphic assaults instead of just standing still. Those small movements make you the king of the 1v1. Raidunw's trailing here, but I don't expect that to be for a while. See, he avoids the rift. It's beautiful.
We haven't seen these junglers really yet on this left-hand side of the map, and I don't know if we even will. A lot of the times, if they are going to gank, it'll be early as Drizzle goes to the air, perhaps expecting a heavier commit. He finds the sun to just line either way. Backflip, but the wall's there to cut off his means of escape. But it's really only Vexuri here to punish. OutCold able to retreat to the jungle left-hand side, but Drizzle rotating on the backside. Just Lion goes for the unravel, but now has found himself a route into a stun. Gets some healing, but not enough. Marky Sparky finds the first kill. This little skirmish of Vexuri gets the second. That's 2-0 for VGS.
Bad news bears there with GunTeR Warrior. Jagia, one of my favorite characters. I think he brings so much, but the turnoff is how player dependent it is. A misplay from GunTeR means a missed team fight for the entirety of OutCold Gaming.
By execution at times here for that Jagia, so if you're picking it, you gotta make sure that you are sure. As VGS struggled towards the beginning of the game a bit, OutCold had a really good fight in the middle lane around Dragon King and finding a double kill on that Horus, but aside from that, it's really been all VGSGods, in particular Marky Sparky.
Raidunw here, again losing the fight. Dashes away. I expect to see more of that. Sometimes I look at Jagia's kit and I go, this is kind of unfair, bloated, overpowered, whatever you want. But then you watch the actual, that's kind of the why I love SMITE, I think, versus other games, is that all of that could be true, but since GunTeR just misses the abilities, it's wildly unimpactful. It literally does nothing. And so because of that, OutCold are kind of OutCold. Stuff there for the jungler. GunTeR unable to connect. If GunTeR hits that ultimate, Thor goes up. Thor likely goes down after the fact because Raidunw had not used the ultimate just yet, was saving the ultimate for that moment, then had to fire it kind of willy-nilly into the stratosphere. Nothing really comes of that either. All that off of a missed ult.
VGSGods have this Chronos Geb late. We'll talk about it later as Drizzle has been caught now by the Windfire Wheels, but we'll have backup here from Vexuri. A nice Geb shield slows down the aggression, and that's the difference between life and death for Drizzle. GunTeR Warrior now trying to reposition, but that's going to be it. They managed to get Drizzle out of there, and in all honesty, he didn't even have the beads and still makes it out.
A little bit better that time around. GunTeR wasn't able to strip any prots. There were some small sequencing issues that I think prevented that kill from going that way, but also that wasn't the world's greatest initiation. You saw multiple players from VGSGods kind of waiting on the outskirts. It was a 3-on-2, even with OutCold getting the advantage there. Just Lion did exactly what he needed to,
Drizzle,
but wasn't enough.
He's taken to the sky, and he's looking for Just Lion, but a good backflip gives him out, and Dragon King commits the ultimate so that he can reposition too. But this is sort of exactly what I was talking about, is the fact that that Geb made such a big difference on that play from GunTeR Warrior with that shield, is that they've got a great late-game Chronos Geb combination, but in the mid-game, they've got this Ullr Thor as well. I feel like they're stronger because of their draft than OutCold at multiple stages of the game. Based on this draft, when is OutCold's time of the game to try and fight?
Honestly, mid-game is better, if not higher execution. VGSGods, and I think because of that statement, VGSGods is just kind of, their draft is just kind of better overall. OutCold, I think, if everybody hits their stuff and every initiation goes perfectly, then OutCold should take advantage in that mid-game. GunTeR Warrior, Just Lion, and Dragon King look fantastic. And God forbid, FataliTyxFire makes the rotation from the short side. This is a mid-game madhouse for OutCold Gaming. The problem is, we just watch a couple of different engages. GunTeR misses the first one, botches the second one, and it all lies on this heavy execution.
Well, this is perfect. If this pick-oriented draft is going to find a kill, it has to start with the Geb, so he can't Geb shield someone else, but still has time to Geb shield himself and drop the Cataclysm onto 2. They didn't have enough damage to remove Vexuri, and now it's time for the aggression. ECLPTX has jumped in, Dragon King low, but barely survives for now. VGSGods handle the aggression and dish some back.
You said something very important in that team fight, John. You said it has to start with the Geb, and that's a problem because of Geb's passive. GunTeR Warrior up in the ultimate is going to deal critical strike damage, and Geb shrugs some of that crit damage off to the wayside by way of his passive. So because of that, it makes it a hard target for GunTeR even later on in the game to really look for the Geb in the first place. So Vexuri kind of happy if he gets grabbed by the Naja.
Works out well for VGSGods there. So we talked a little bit about how their composition works well at multiple stages. Just Lion is going to use the backflip, which makes him a bit of a sitting duck for this ultimate from Drizzle. Unless Drizzle misses, then Just Lion can keep right on truck and get some healing from DragonKing and the two-man knockup. And now Drizzle's the one that's in trouble. GunTeR Warrior finds the first kill. Vexuri getting hit by the hieroglyphic assault, and Final Judgment flattens him. We'll see you later to the Geb. That's 2 for OutCold.
GunTeR's going to have an ultimate in about 3 seconds. That's why he's sticking here and staying local. Ring toss is going to slow down and strip some prots. Oh, my mistake. It was a beat stick, not a Jotun's. So the ultimate will be on cooldown a little bit longer there. OutCold Gaming, exactly what I said. If everybody is able to kind of land their stuff, everything looks wonderful. But that's the first team fight in 11 minutes that goes their direction because of how difficult it is. And that sounds like a cop-out or a bad John. At the end of the day, Smite's tough, and you got to hit your stuff.
Yeah, and even more than that, it just requires a lot of variance, doesn't it? I mean, yes. DragonKing hits like a 2, almost 3-man knockup in that fight. That's probably not going to happen every single fight for them. Drizzle misses his ultimate towards the start of it when it should have hit Just Lion. That's not going to happen every fight either. It does require all these things to go OutCold's way for them to even have an even fight, it feels like at times.
You know, and to your statement there, you know, Drizzle misses, Just Lion dodges, right, however you want to call it. I think Just Lion pathed really intelligently, walked towards the opposition, knowing that Drizzle was about to ult on the backside. And DragonKing, he has been the highlight of this team for me. And he can hit those multi-man knockups. And so OutCold Gaming draft that understanding the players that they have. This is a high execution composition for a team that is unafraid of high execution compositions because they played them and they've won with them in the past. If this is swapped and VGSGods have OutCold Gaming's draft, I am much less confident in it. But the resume of OCG absolutely proves that these guys, what they just did, not a fluke, and I'm expecting more.
Just Lion does find the roof, but gets walled in response. It's a ton of damage from Ecliptics, though. And Drizzle, again, can't find the ultimate. It's fine, he cleans it up with the spin, but this all is extra commitment he wouldn't have to make if he'd landed the initial stun. Raidunw waiting in the back line for the final judgment. He can hit 2 if he lines it up. He takes down Drizzle and brings Vexuri low. Raidunw is huge in this one, and Ecliptics gonna join him, certainly. That's 3 now for OutCold in a row off some big rotation from Raidunw. But here's 3 answers back. Bevy has made it over here first.
Really nice rotation here from Bevy. The teleport able to find his way onto the other side. Not even used. The teleport from FataliTyxFire was used, so Bevy had to walk his way over here and get those kills. Fantastic response by VGSGods because, again, everything goes OutCold Gaming's way. Just Lion dodges out of Drizzle. That means that everybody's able to catch him on the backside. DragonKing does a fantastic job at grabbing multiple players, and GunTeR Warrior lines things up for Raidunw to shoot the shot and find the ultimate. Again, very difficult to execute, but OCG are here for it and ready and waiting. VGSGods respond. I don't need you to be that fancy and that clever. Just have your Raven punch people in the face. It works just as well, and that's why we have the tie game. OCG are going to continue to look for these picks, these picks into team fights. As long as VGS respond that way every time, we've got a game.
It's such a difficult team fight for VGSGods, and I don't know what Drizzle can do here in the middle of the game to make some adjustments. I mean, I understand Just Lion is, you know, slippery, but I mean, the ultimates just have to be landed. I don't know any other way to try and describe it. As Cataclysm finds 2, they really need to commit the World Weaver here to try and take down Vexuri as Drizzle lands underneath the tier 1 tower.
I'm less upset with that one. Drizzle's just kind of making a statement saying if you walk out of the tower, you'll get hit. If you don't, sure. Zoning ult is what we call it sometimes with respect to like Krakens and stuff. So I'm okay with that one. The other 2, absolutely. It's a Neith. He's just walking better than you're landing your ultimate. If it's a character with a big jump or whatnot, fine. I'm Team Thor. That sucks. People dodge. But Just Lion is just walking. There's nothing crazy.
Agreed. I big agree on that one. And so, I mean, they got to connect. I don't know any other way to look at it. Yeah,
I'm giving Just Lion credit for dodging, but at the same time, Drizzle, you got to hit it.
I find myself agreeing as VGSGods need these kills to come at a slightly lower commitment, I feel like. Yes, Raidunw hits a really big two-man ultimate in that last big team fight, but that's only because Drizzle has to come all the way underneath the tier 1 tower and loop around towards the red buff. So if VGSGods can execute these fights cleaner, then they might not even give OutCold a chance to outplay him.
I love this play. Look at this. It's all going to set up Raidunw right here. Raidunw looks like he's by himself in a bad spot, but the rotation from behind.
Vexuri will become the target early on, and DragonKingJagia claimed the first kill. Sparky now stuck in between. It gets rewind off, and here comes the two-man dunk from Drizzle. But this time he doesn't have any backup. Has to leave with the hammer, and Bevy's suddenly in between 4. But handling business, just Lion. He's getting his face fixed, and he ends up dropping. Sparky now needs some backup as FataliTyxFire has found his way to him. Aegis buys a brief moment. Able to find a little bit of damage to the time stop too, but FataliTyxFire makes it 2 for 1.
The beverage monster quenching everyone's thirst. GunTeR misses again! No, our junglers need to go to the range and find their shots. DragonKing eventually gets the kill there. Here's my bit of analysis. Can we look at Bevy Monster real quick and see and mouse over his 4th ability? The ultimate here. Damage mitigation. He's got 3 points in it. Just takes 20% less damage.
Seems good.
Just period. 1 versus 4. It just takes 20% less damage. Great choice in picks and bans.
And was able to just kind of sit on just Lion in that fight. Yeah.
He didn't kill anybody. But this is the important part. FataliTyxFire chases down Drizzle.
He commit the Cataclysm for this one too. Into the Shockwave. Suddenly, FataliTyxFire may have bit off more than he could chew. He still gets the kill in the end, but it cost him his life. Not so sure how worth it is, as FataliTyxFire had not died up until that point, and Drizzle has made himself much less of a factor here this game.
Back-to-back misplays from FataliTyxFire. It tries to burn the execute on the rewinding Chronos, which wasn't even in execute range. Not my favorite play. And then that oddball dive. Not my favorite play either, which you've kind of earned your ability, 3, 1, and 3, right? You've kind of earned your ability to make a misplay, right? You hit the ball twice, you get a strikeout. Not the case when your direct opponent, Bevy Monster, is literally running team fights for VGSGods. I mentioned before, Bevy didn't get a kill, that's fine. Nobody else at OutCold Gaming got a kill because they all looked at the Robin. Like, that can't happen.
17 minutes in, we've just taken down our first objective of the game. A blistering pace here so far as these two teams battling it back and forth here in PS4 EU. You know, to that point, I'm being a bit glib, but I am surprised there's been more fighting around these objectives, as Sparky could be in a bit of trouble, forces out the rewind, good work there from Raidunw, but the World Weaver was there as well.
And see, this is kind of what I was talking about. Raidunw, yeah, he just has it.
Sparky too far forward. I mean, there's really no options for him to try and retreat there, especially once he's already used the ultimate. Vexuri has been caught out, hit by the knockup by DragonKing, and the rest of the team has the damage, but Drizzle finds himself a nice stun onto DragonKing to try and slow down the aggression. GunTeR's been isolated too. This has turned into a fractured fight now for OutCold, but Raidunw in the back line trying to pick up the pieces, has found some damage with Vexuri, but it's not enough. So Bevy Monster, who's suddenly shown up to this one, looks for the dunk, doesn't find much, and DragonKing somehow is still alive.
FataliTyxFire still on the Marta, all the way on the right-hand side, trying to make his way over here. Here comes DragonKing. Just Lion gets a kill somehow. The 2-on-1. Drizzle gets popped. Raidunw with the credit for that one. And OutCold Gaming, 14-8.
It's just starting to feel like VGSGods just don't do enough damage. I mean, how long were they just whacking away at DragonKing and they still could not bring him down in that last fight again? I mean, OutCold have, yes, been playing it well, but it's kind of felt like VGSGods coming up a bit short here too, as Gold Fury now on the table.
OutCold Gaming, their movement has been impeccable. I go back to watching just Lion dodge Drizzle's ultimates over and over again.
Gold Fury now quite low. Bevy gonna blink in. DragonKing manages to avoid, and they secure the objective. At the very least, they make just Lion pay for sticking to the objective, but Raidunw low on mana. He must be a target here at this point. Bevy does not have the ultimate to get over the wall, and DragonKing uses Raidunw to escape. Perfectly executed, and they defend the red buff. I mean, if they only lose just Lion for this, then the VGSGods have not gotten enough. At the very least, they will get GunTeR Warrior here too.
That's why I like CDR on my Naja. I would like to see a little bit more CDR there. Still working out though. GunTeR Warrior 1, 2, and 8. Maybe not as well as I had previously thought of. The movement again from OutCold, just fantastic. VGSGods do a great job and answer back with a tier 1 tower. Here's an initiation from again. That'll be one dead player. No, Raiden's out. Raiden's down.
Drizzle right there to the back line to keep things rocking and rolling. Wall to lock down FataliTyxFire near the front of the tier 2, forced to use that fatal strike defensively, so VGSGods will keep up the chase. ECLPTX looking for an axe but doesn't have it. He'll settle for bladed arrow, but the turnaround potential from OutCold is starting to rear its head. Drizzle trying to hunt down just Lion and able to catch up to him with a basic.
That's the best team fight we've seen out of VGSGods this entire time, John Finch. Not only do they get the tier 1 tower, which was kind of easy, but after the fact, the follow-up was really impressive. And again, DragonKing still saves his teammates, but 2 players still eat it. VGS just played that team fight the way they needed to play the last 20 minutes as well. The mid game, like you said, this is as we approach the end of the mid game, the beginning of the late game, if you will. You're right. This is where VGSGods kind of missed their opportunity, but now they can kind of seize this late game if Ullr can make some shots and capitalize off his level lead in the middle, because Ullr hasn't been in any team fights. He's just farmed the whole time. Just Lion has been running around the map like a crazy person. If ECLPTX and MarkySparky can kind of utilize their late game prowess here, that's where VGSGods can kind of buy back into it. They're only down 500, and that's their look. It's through their mid and their carry.
Yes, I think particularly trying to play around Vexuri and MarkySparky is going to be the play for VGSGods as this game goes later and later. I mean, look where MarkySparky is in the player damage. He's only above the 2 supports this time. He hasn't really done much just yet, which is fine, especially if you're within striking distance, as VGSGods are. You can always call on your Chronos later. But, I mean, for me, this has been a battle of the supports, if I'm being honest. Vexuri and DragonKing have looked excellent. Vexuri's the one that started that good fight for them with a 3-man Cataclysm.
Absolutely. He was the beginning of, as I said, the best team fight VGSGods have had all day. And DragonKing always...
Heartseeker, baby.
DragonKing always makes me look at him when he plays this game. Very, very impressive. But you brought up the Heartseeker. This is actually going to be one of the first times we get to see this item as players are playing on the current patch. Heartseeker there built out for the Thor. Going to make these characters go into the later stages of the game more effectively. Not only are you going to scale off of your power, right? Your ability damage is going to scale up, but it's also going to take flat percentage damage off of the target. Now, people generally look at that and say, oh, well, it's for killing tanks. Not necessarily. 3% is relatively low, but the 6% in the physical power is really what you're looking at.
Bevy is the front line for the team now. They get a nice Geb shield out from Vexuri, but DragonKing has been caught out and MarkySparky gets the kill credit. That's so huge that they're able to lock him down. That's the final judgment from Raidunw as well, so a lot of important tools lost for OutCold. GunTeR Warrior does not commit the Windfire wheels just yet. He's being patient, but Bevy wants to hunt down just Lion. He's found the second damage dealer. It's only Raidunw left to carry the torch for OutCold.
All in, all in. VGSGods have to continue hitting the gas pedal. This is their moment.
Yeah, there's no one left to deal damage except for Raidunw, so I try and get back there to him if at all possible. GunTeR Warrior trading out with Vexuri. They've gotten MarkySparky low, and they're letting Raidunw sit on the back line and deal damage. This in-between is not going to cut it. A good wall there on the FataliTyxFire slows things down, but Vexuri and execute threshold 2. There's all the makings for a double kill here, but he can only find one.
FataliTyxFire going to blink forward, misses the stun, still finds some damage after the fact. But Drizzle won better. Another blink and another missed ultimate from GunTeR means that Drizzle will escape. Bad stuff there from the jungler.
Raidenw's at the same HP that he was at the start of the fight. I mean, you got to get back into this Thoth. I understand that they got just Lion and DragonKing, but it's just not enough.
I'm laughing at the laugh. Right, and again, VGSGods, that was their moment. Vexuri and team isolate DragonKing, and a fantastic wall by Drizzle. That keeps DragonKing on the enemy side of the battlefield. So VGSGods take who we had just confirmed as one of the higher performing players in this game, take down DragonKing and look for the enemy. OutCold Gaming do a good job of spreading out, and that's all well and good, but VGSGods do one better and match the spread out. Big difference here. MarkySparky dies with rewind up. That is just unforgivable, honestly. These are fundamentals. As a Chronos player at the highest level of play here in the console league where you're at, you've got to be able to land that. Once in a while, sure, you could get surprised by a burst ultimate or something, and you blame the opponent for that one. But what I saw there from MarkySparky was just a misplay from a Chronos player who has been largely misplaying this contest, despite the positive slash line.
Yeah, another big fight, and Raidunw could have a final judgment lined up. Marky Sparky gets clipped for 900 damage, but this time the rewind does come off, and he's back to full health. So VGSGods should take this time to surge forward. Drizzle's been caught by GunTeR Warrior, and the hieroglyphic assault is there again. Raidunw's had his name all over this game so far. GunTeR Warrior now low, but Marky Sparky gets traded back out as Ullr falls as well. A double for FataliTyxFire.
I don't think he's done yet.
Oh
Triple
God,
was taken
Raidunw.
away by Raidunw. And Bevy Monster gets the root. Will be totaled. Robin is one of these players that could escape here, but as soon as he turned and tried to fight, that's that.
I don't understand how you draft Thor and Robin and still have trouble diving this Thoth in the backline, man. It feels like VGSGods have not made Raidunw enough of a priority in these engagements for him to be able to make it. He has beads up, you know, at the back end of that fight. It just feels like they haven't put Raidunw under enough pressure.
Mid lane tier 2 going to be easily taken. Doug showed us earlier that there was one wave of minions going ahead and poking the Titan. Not too big of a deal, but the fact that the Phoenix is down is certainly the real choice here. And the Phoenix down in the mid lane as well. A nice look for OutCold Gaming. Now they've got a dummy big lead. And really the only thing stopping OutCold from taking this one would be an all-out team fight wipe, which is possible. Like you said, they've got a lot of choices here. Bevy and Drizzle can dive a backline, and Vexuri can
They sure
follow
can.
up, or opposite.
Wouldn't mind if they did.
Yup. Again, execution.
Now, my question becomes, can VGSGods make a stand here on this last Phoenix? I doubt they want to come out and fight on the FG for this next time and try and fight that one. So how does this team against a Thoth, against a Neith on this side for OutCold, start to make this Phoenix defense happen?
Ullr's going to have to match some of the ability clear as far as the wave is concerned. It's going to be tough. It's not going to happen. Realistically, we've covered it. Bevy and Drizzle have to dive the backline. There just is no other option. Drizzle has to land an ultimate on the Thoth, chase out the beads. Or Vexuri has to blink forward, Cataclysm, chase out the beads. Raidunw has one pair of beads, and there are two players looking for stuns.
Cataclysm using a GunTeR Warrior that does force out his beads. Windfire Wheel has to be used defensively, and there's Bevy committing the ultimate onto GunTeR Warrior, and he's able to make it back out relatively healthy. Now this time Drizzle makes his way towards Raidunw on the back line, but instead of having the follow-up from Bevy, that's already been used elsewhere.
Where's Chronos? Why are VGS fighting here? Marky Sparky's in Timbuktu, and Vexuri's dying. That is the wrong way to play. 3 Vs and 1 G. Group up, team.
They originally thought that they had GunTeR Warrior set up for a pick, and that's where Bevy was going, but that's not realistic right here at this point, so VGSGods have to fall all the way back, and this time to defend without Vexuri. The good news is OutCold more concerned with the FG than with the fight for now, so FataliTyxFire zoning way out in Ottawa. Meanwhile, the rest of the team handling the FG.
I'm down here. No problem. No problem at all. This is playing it safe. OutCold Gaming have an absurd lead, but they are playing it carefully, and I respect this. I think this is...
Yes.
Before, I was yelling about fundamentals, getting your fundamentals down. These are the types of plays that win games.
This is strong for OutCold. They'll be able to make this right side push. So now that Phoenix discussion we were having earlier finally starting to come into play, and I do think this has been a bit of a problem for VGSGods, which is that they're just fighting for no reason.
Yes.
Now they can finally be fighting around the Phoenix in a set 5-on-5 that makes some sense.
I've been saying it since, I think, EverQuest 1. Fight on the flag. If you don't know where or why you're fighting, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Right side Phoenix, a perfect place to fight for VGS.
Truly the last bastion for VGSGods, right? By process of elimination, they're here in the right place. Up into the air goes Drizzle. Just Lion's already used the backflip. He's a sitting duck, but he's not the priority target. Remember, it's Raidunw way in the backline, full HP, charging Final Judgment, and removing Drizzle from range. Bevy has also committed to the backline, but Just Lion clips him. If Raidunw ends another fight, full HP, I'm gonna have an aneurysm here on the desk here, Tom. I just can't handle it.
Somebody call somebody for John, because Raidunw is full HP, and the team fight's over. Are you okay, John?
No!
Are
And
you
neither
okay,
are VGSGods. Of
Are
course
you
they're
okay,
not.
John?
No, I'm gonna have a panic attack. That is a nice win for OutCold, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, if Raidunw gets to have fights like that, then they're gonna win every single game.
Exactly. I don't care. Pick the worst character in SMITE. Somebody tell me the worst character in SMITE that can attack from a distance. And if Raidunw is playing that character, the team fight goes exactly the same way. Because any guy that's allowed to just sit in the back line and cast for free is going to beat you. Somebody had to strip beads. He didn't even have to use beads at all in that last team fight.
I would say the last two, if I'm being honest with you.
He dashed forward. He used his dash aggressively.
He was under no duress. And that's the thing that's a bit curious here for me is that VGSGods, I mean, clearly the target selection is something that's worth talking about here from this squad, but also the fight selection just writ large from VGSGods was constantly raising question marks here for me. Like, why are we choosing to fight here? The attempted GunTeR warrior pick in middle lane that led to that prolonged fight that they end up losing also ended up being confusing for me. I mean, VGSGods, I would say, make sure they know why they're fighting.
Absolutely. The key for OutCold was execution, and they executed VGS.
Yeah, they did a very good job there in that game. So now VGSGods got to take a few minutes to try and regroup. We'll see if they have on the other side of this break.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the SMITE Console League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Console League. It was Just Lion who was heavily targeted in Game 1, but it was actually Raidunw who ended up being the hero. A magnificent performance on the Thoth shuts down VGSGods. My name is Finch. I'm joined by Tom F. Badinger here on the desk as we get prepared for the second game here in what's been really a fireworks display of a set.
Yeah, I mean, straight up, VGSGods drafted a team that probably had an easier time when it came down to tackling business, but OutCold Gaming, even though it was kind of difficult to pilot, in the first couple of minutes we were like, we'll see what happens.
Right.
We saw what happened. It didn't matter how difficult to pilot the characters were, in comes OutCold and kind of chills out the opposition.
I was hoping you'd ask me why I said the fireworks display analogy.
Why'd you say the fireworks analogy?
Well, thanks, Tom. That's perfect that we naturally just segued into my bit, which is that a lot of stuff went off for no real reason.
Like fireworks!
Yeah, dude, that's nice, isn't it?
Man, that's feel like a plastic bag.
No. Do you?
The Katy Perry song, Fireworks.
Is plastic bag in that?
Okay.
Okay.
Like a plastic bag. I only know one Katy Perry song.
I don't think you know that one. If I had to guess, VGSGods will be the first pick here. Yes. Yeah. Does she say plastic bag? Go ahead and look it up for me while I do the desk. Morgan and Noonbots. You have a phone. What is this bit you're doing? I understand there's no invisible laptop. And Morgan and Noonbots here on the left-hand side. Isis and King Arthur here for OutCold banned away. I'm wondering if there's a Thoth ban coming. VGSGods clearly not going to ban it now, but maybe OutCold will, just so that VGSGods won't pilot it after that game one.
I'm not too concerned if I'm OCG. If I see a Thoth, sure, I think I can handle it. The hell is what they banned earlier, and I think that's better.
They do ban away the hell this time, so it won't be sustained. They get the job done for VGSGods. Moose and Cobb still out there and certainly worth valuing here at this point. They're along Shen, the Thoth, the Zhonghui, lots of big picks, and it is indeed going to be that Thoth from last game. If you can't beat him, take him. And it's going to be on the side of VGS.
The thing is, Thoth, a strong character, sure, absolutely. But the reason Thoth won last game wasn't because he was Thoth. A lot of times we'll see, Guan Yu wins because he dives the backline. Or that Ravana, for example, was a really big threat because he dove the backline time and time again, made use of that damage reduction. Thoth was powerful because VGSGods didn't do what they were supposed to. And OutCold Gaming win the game off of their high execution. I don't know if on VGS that I'm going to trust that OutCold Gaming won't do what they're supposed to.
Exactly, so we'll see if this Thoth can survive. A Geb is a pretty good way at helping him survive in those situations if he does end up being dove. But Set Horus from OutCold, that's a pretty big way to enter into game number 2. Set largely considered just the most individually valuable pick, I would say nowadays, right now. Just a lot of players really want this guy on their team. And then the Horus, we saw what DragonKing was able to do in that last game. Going to be on OutCold side yet again.
And the Ravana this time around. Ravana was the scariest player on the court here for VGS. OutCold Gaming going to be able to take the Demon Queller over here and do Demon Killer, I believe, on their side and execute exactly what they needed to in game number 1, just like they will in game number 2. The Soul, the Geb of Thoth, it's a fine draft here, John Finch, but if I'm to evaluate the first half draft, Set, Horus, Ravana, that piques my interest a little bit more.
Yes, that's a very strong first 3 picks here from OutCold. VGSGods, I think, could certainly be strong around these set fights, like around objectives or around structures and those sorts of things. That's where this comes from VGSGods impresses me right now. But in the if this is the pace that we saw last game, a bunch of small skirmishes happening all the time, all over the place, then I'm favoring OutCold right now.
I've got to agree. Watching what this team was able to do before should really pose a complete threat in game number 2. And as I take a look at the Anhur selection here, John, it's the same thing again. Maybe a little bit high execution, but I've got no doubt in this team after before and what we've seen in the past couple of weeks. And so Set, Horus, Ravana, Anhur, it's physical heavy, and that is an asterisk, but I don't think it ruins the game.
I don't think so either. I think they're probably waiting to give Raidunw some big magical damage over there in the long lane. I wonder if Poseidon might be something they're considering as Osiris and Vamana round out those final 2 picks for VGSGods. 2 beefy warriors to try and frontline for the team. Which one of them is going into the jungle, though, becomes the question. Chang'e, yes! I love Chang'e. I don't know if she's what you need here, but I love me some Chang'e.
I got to agree. I see the Chang'e. It's an interesting choice. I don't hate it. It does have some anti-heal, which is going to be important versus the Vamana, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out here. I think I wanted some more like traditional mage.
Yeah, I agree. They could potentially be wanting for magical damage later on in the game. And now if you let Chang'e free cast, like they let Raidunw free cast last game, then it certainly can become a problem that magical damage can stack up for you. But if not, don't you think of Chang'e more control-y than like bursty?
Exactly. I always think of Chang'e as a battle mage. Built right now, the solo lane seems very attractive for her. She's able to build kind of these warlock, staffy, void stony builds, as opposed to full tank, which is not what our healers want to do. So we'll see how Raidunw decides to build over there in the long lane. Again, it's got to be up close and personal, so it's not going to be as safe as a Thoth from game number 1. A wildly different approach.
That's right. This Thoth's also in the middle lane, so won't be getting all that solo farm that Raidunw was able to get in game 1 either. Instead, it'll be Marky Sparky on this Soul. Probably not too bad of a matchup into this Chang'e, where he can do some out-trading with those basic attacks, and those already a slight bit ahead. But it does make one wonder why, you wouldn't have the Thoth in the long lane here in this matchup.
Locked into this 1v1. Soul should be able to take it. And to answer your question why you don't want the Thoth in the long lane, I just think the Soul is probably a little bit safer. Vexuri, not safe at all. GunTeR Warrior now stunned out. There's the hit, jumping on into the tower. And so the one trade out, but VGSGods first on the board.
Man, that fight is one I could have told you was just lying if all the nameplates were turned out, man. Jumping into 3 at the tower line, that is him to a T on this Anhur. That was the right call. Sets up for a trade where there otherwise would not have been one. And DragonKing on this Horus, yet again, has found an early kill.
I like the Thoth here in the mid lane because the Soul, I think, is just a little bit less safe. Sure, you've got to separate, but it takes a moment to really get into Thoth, long-range dash. I don't mind the Thoth in the middle lane. I really don't.
Should be okay for them, but up against this Anhur could potentially lose out on some pressure to just lie, and we'll have to see how the matchup ends up working out. It is Vamana in the jungle. Remember we saw the Vamana and Osiris locked at the end. DragonKing can't find anything with the dash, but also doesn't get punished, so I guess you'll need to talk about it. FataliTyxFire in danger of getting soloed, but with the Spirit Flail off the mark, that won't be happening. But yes, you were talking about these warriors, where they were going, and they went with this Vamana here in the jungle. How do you like this?
I love it because, God, do I hate Osiris jungle. I just think Osiris jungle does something very specific in the early game, and it's very good at kind of dealing with harassment. That's not the metagame that we see here at this level of play on the console league. It's something that only few teams do, and even then, only a few leagues. So the Osiris over here on the solo side is able to battle a little bit more effectively versus the set for sure. And the Vamana in the jungle, I'll be honest, the ultimate's the only thing that sticks out. Is not very jungle-like. You dash, knock up, and sneeze on somebody, they're at half HP, if not even lower, and that allows the enemy to kind of fill the void and take you down. So VGSGods, I like the decision to put Drizzle on the Vamana versus Bevy Monster.
We'll see if it can make it work here this time. Remember, the Thor last game definitely left something to be a bit desired. So if Drizzle is more comfortable, you know, with this warrior style, then you won't catch me complaining as he gets a little bit more into his own wheelhouse, obviously. What we saw in Game 1 isn't going to quite cut it if they want to take down a team like OutCold. But this is a good thing to follow along with, is how does this solo lane end up working out? Because if FataliTyxFire is out-rotating Bevy a lot in this game, it's going to be really tough for VGSGods to win. Set makes such big rotations.
He'll be able to make an impact probably earlier than the Osiris. Osiris really does classical solo lane stuff. Osiris is able to bully you when he's got a big lead. Osiris is able to make sure you're slowed for the entirety of the game. A good Osiris will make great use of that judgment tether to lower the damage output from some of the opposition. But it's got to take a while. Whereas when I look at FataliTyxFire, as soon as level 5 comes online, somebody can die. Kingslayer provides you with a lot of numbers, and usually you need time to get numbers in moments because you've got to amass levels with base damage and base numbers, or you've got to get itemization that's got numbers online. But if your ability just gives you bonus stuff, that's where you're able to kind of leverage your non-power spike. People sit there and lie and wait for, gotta finish my death print, gotta finish this item, gotta finish that item. FataliTyxFire can do that without finishing an item, just with the Kingslayer ultimate.
And if he does go the sort of health-oriented build that we've seen from sets so much up until now, then he might have some trouble trying to chew through Bevy and Drizzle. Obviously, if he can get to ECLPTX or Marky Sparky, can cause some problems for them. But I wonder if these two warriors aren't meant to try and mitigate some of the effectiveness here of FataliTyxFire by having these two extra sort of burly presences that he has to try and fight his way through.
I'm not sure how burly Drizzle will be. I have an inkling that Drizzle will actually build relatively dangerously and be aggressive and just be this guy that looks to kill everybody with burst damage. I think that's what he'll do, and I think that's actually what the team needs him to do. So whether or not that big baby actually comes in and is effective is a different story. But here, Drizzle's able to make this play because of that ability, has teammates in the wings.
Bevy comes over the wall with the Lord of the Afterlife, does stun out GunTeR Warrior, but doesn't find much more. And now Bevy is left without an escape option. He's relying on this Judgment Tether, but he's been hit by the Mystic Rush. Could use a nice big stun, but the slows there from Just a Lion, who always seems to be where he's supposed to be. DragonKing finds one more kill.
Man, you're doing my job for me, man. Just Lion, perfect rotation. Couldn't have timed it better. Not only was Thoth back at base and not available to follow the rotation, but Just Lion just needed to be there. Provided some slows and some extra damage. The slows are what was paramount to that entire conversation. If Just Lion doesn't make that rotation, I think we see Bevy actually get out of there. The Osiris falls down because of the mid-lane rotation. OutCold Gaming up 2-1.
Yeah, I also wonder if Bevy Monster needs to Lord of the Afterlife in that equation too. He was without his escape as GunTeR Warrior in some trouble. DragonKing looked for the body block to try and slow Drizzle down, but GunTeR Warrior able to retreat. And now Drizzle hasn't gotten much of anything out of the Colossal Fury.
That was an awkward sequence.
Get impaled, by the way. Obelisk waiting for you, by the way.
Just
on her damage, by the way.
Was just sitting here waiting for him. 100%.
He is able to make it back out of that equation, though, without any real issues. That dash from the Vamana, quite a strong tool. So OutCold 2-1 in terms of the kills. Both of them are on Dragon King. The first blood, a bit more of a discussion than really that second one and where that little bit of extra gold ends up going. But this isn't bad from OutCold. They've really been setting the pace. They've been rotating well. When VGSGods tried to come for the blue buff, OutCold are right there to defend.
Every single time I expect that to happen. OutCold is a team that really knows their timers and knows how to read their opponents as well. You can see right here OutCold going for the Gold Fury vision. Because of that rotation to the right side, they said, all right, we got away with it once, but if we shade to the right side again, which it looks like we might have to, VGSGods have been showing a lot of presence over there, we'll have to match it, well, the Gold Fury might be open, and VGSGods has a better look at that Gold Fury because of the soul than OutCold Gaming does with the Chang'e on the left side of the map. So with all these variables intact, it's imperative that OutCold Gaming have vision of the left side objective.
Secure that by grabbing those oracles. You know, you mentioned Marky Sparky on this soul and how that does help them around the Gold Fury. So I'm a bit surprised VGSGods has spent more attention on this right-hand side of the map as ECLPTX brings Just Lion down low. That means Dragon King's now a bit isolated, but he's able to just walk out.
Look at that disruption, though. That's the difference between OCG's Thoth and VGSGods' Thoth. When Raidunw was playing the Thoth, nobody was able to touch him. This time around, as soon as Thoth shows up, 2 people jump on top.
Make sure that he can't be comfortable back there, and it's made life difficult for ECLPTX. He is level 8, but remember, at this same point, Raidunw in last game was kind of Marky Sparky's equivalent, right? That 2 levels or so ahead of most of the map. This time, because ECLPTX is in that middle lane, he's relatively even with everyone else. It has kept Just Lion in check, but it won't be quite that same impact as last time, as Vexuri's already low. Drizzle dashes through, Just Lion jumps away, and that's it for this fight.
And again,
unless Drizzle rotates around, hello?
Drizzle's gonna, can he get him? Nice shot there from the support, and that's
What?
a bad play.
Well, that's weird. Drizzle now in the Colossal Fury just to make sure they can make it back out. Just Lion still low and will complete the back. So that was the blink from Drizzle committed there as well, and doesn't even get the beats.
Yeah. Sometimes you just miss, unfortunately.
Saw game 1. So
Good stuff from Dragon King again, keeping his head on a swivel. Dashed kind of just for some healing numbers, but Drizzle shows up, and so Dragon King's kind of in the right shot there. Thoth being in the mid versus the long lane, you're 100% correct in that Thoth will not have the farm that the Soul player has, which is all well and good, because I think that the Thoth can impact team fights at a regular level even without a lead. The Soul, on the other hand, kind of basic attack oriented, needs to reach that late game, and can do so better in that long side. So while Thoth, any character that doesn't have an absurd lead is going to be at a disadvantage, sure, I think Thoth can operate at an even level a little bit better than the Soul can.
okay, good. So Marky Sparky can make use, perhaps, of this soul and this late game farm a little bit better. But for that, I want to see VGSGods kind of play around that, right? We want to start to see some objective-focused play so the soul can really shine at that objective burn.
Which is now where this Chang'e starts to make a little bit more sense to me. I'll talk about it after the red buff invade. Okay, I guess I'll talk about it. Marky Sparky here is able to... Soul's very scary because the second you leave lane, you lose your tower. Chang'e never has to leave lane.
True, that's right, with that Jade Rabbit pass, where she can chill as GunTeR Warrior blinks in, goes
Big
right
play.
for ECLPTX. Final Judgment off the mark here this time, though, but GunTeR Warrior might have committed his life, able to use that Mystic Rush, but waiting is Marky Sparky around the corner, but Dragon King's already gotten ECLPTX and GunTeR Warrior's now out. Drizzle gonna stay on top of Just Lion, but able to reposition over the wall, and now FataliTyxFire on the set is here into the back line, finds 1. Very low is Vexuri, could potentially be 2, but at the very least, Bevy does find Just Lion.
Just Lion tried to rotate under the tower. Bevy's rotation took out the mid laner.
Set's still there.
Yeah, FataliTyxFire. We will see you later, Vexuri. Another kill for Fatality. 2-0-1 for the short side. Biggest difference between, again, I'm comparing game 1 to game 2.
Right, I think you should.
ECLPTX just couldn't do anything. OutCold Gaming's first kill of that team fight was onto the Thoth guy. That is not a mistake. That is not, we just grabbed whoever was in front of us. That is not, we just pushed the buttons on whoever was CC'd. That is a concerted effort to not let the Thoth guy free cast. OutCold Gaming do here what VGSGods should have done all game number 1. Because of it, they come out on top.
Drizzle does successfully steal the blue buff, but I definitely agree. ECLPTX is able to get the Final Judgment off that fight, but he misses everybody. Yep. And I trust ECLPTX to hit Final Judgments normally. I imagine he's under duress back there, man, right? I mean, GunTeR Warrior was diving on him. He's got to worry about where Just Lion is in that fight, too. And that's the difference, I think, between being able to chill in the backline and line up your shots and then being rushed to have to take them out of rhythm.
I mean, it is the most apropos comparison to an American football quarterback that I can think of. Your entire, if you can sack him, you win the game. It's really that simple, and that's what Thoth is doing. He's 200 yards behind the entire team fight, and if you can get back there, you probably win the team fight. Now again, only the Sith speaks in absolutes, and there are things for VGSGods to do if their Thoth goes down early. Most notably, push the players out. I'm looking at Drizzle and Vexuri to turn things around and put pressure outside. But if OutCold Gaming are able to take down the Thoth, they've shifted things, I mean, 70-30 in their favor for that individual team fight.
Does put a lot of the burden then on the Marky Sparky. GunTeR Warrior blinks in, FataliTyxFires it between everybody, and that's just the set things that time. ECLPTX is the one that ends up falling first. And FataliTyxFire not done yet. He's got more clones. In comes GunTeR Warrior, doesn't find much with the Mystic Rush, but FataliTyxFire goes right to the back line, and that sets up for another kill. Vexuri has now fallen as well. Root on the Marky Sparky, but they're gonna switch over to Bevy. The Osiris can't quite lock him down underneath the tier 2, but FataliTyxFire blinks in. He's a madman this game.
Ooh, a little bit rough there. FataliTyxFire could and will die here. But a nice play overall. The 3 for none.
Feeling himself a bit.
Yeah, I'm feeling myself. A little bit too much there, champ. FataliTyxFire falls down, but he got the 4-1-1 on the situation. And again, John Finch, I beg of you, who was the first one dead in that team fight?
It was ECLPTX.
That's exactly what OutCold need to do. And VGSGods repeatedly fighting in the wrong spot. This is deceptive. This seems like a bad fight. This is an anti-Gold Fury maneuver. And although Bevy shouldn't chase this far, just throwing wave after wave of VGSGods at the team fight was actually the right move here.
Yeah, not too bad. It does slow things down considerably for OutCold, not with them pull Gold Fury. He just got considered it for a moment, but with that Oracle Vision there, OutCold would have been there instantaneously to try and slow that one down. But you're right, man. OutCold done such a much better job of targeting ECLPTX here in this fight. The thing is, though, if you put Thoth in the middle lane, you are kind of saying that you're not expecting the Thoth to be the one that wins these games. It's got to be Marky Sparky. He's the one you put in the long lane with all that extra farm on this Soul. And it hasn't really felt like this Soul has done much either. OutCold have correctly taken out the actual problem on VGSGods, despite the way that they lined up on the field.
I still think, even now, level 14, I still think it's too early for Soul. She hasn't completed the Demonic Grip, which is what's going to allow her to chew through the protections of the opposition here. Soul needs more time in the kiln. She's just simply not going to be sold upon her bar just yet. OCG start gold.
Gold Fury. Indeed quite low, and it's really only Marky Sparky nearby, so this is risky from him at best if he wants to try and strip this away. GunTeR Warrior misses the root, but they don't even need it. But VGSGods strip it away. Marky Sparky gets there in time. The waxing moon there from Raidunw wasn't quite enough, and now Dragon King in some trouble, but Just Lion with another disgusting obelisk saves his life.
GunTer's gonna
up down
out here. Oh, he got one. I did not expect that to go that direction. Raidunw literally dances through one ultimate.
Dragon King, I know that those are your support instincts, but I don't think you can come back into this one. You're so low here at this point, but he is able to get it done with both dashes, man. I mean, you can't get mad at supports who love to play like that. You know?
Dragon King, I like watching him play. It really is just fun there. VGSGods are able to steal it away simply because of GunTeR Warrior's lack of fundamentals. When you are zoning a player away from an objective, Gold Fury, Pyromancer, Fire Giant, Portal Demon if you're playing last year, as the zoner, you have to move first. You a lot of times get stuck in this game of chicken where you're just sort of like staring at the guy. You're gonna go left, you're gonna go right, like you play basketball or something. You've got to make the first move, because one juke and you're gone. That's exactly what we saw with Marky Sparky. He deked right, went left, shot his shot. GunTeR Warrior can't catch up. If GunTeR Warrior instead hits the root, forces abilities moved out of Marky Sparky, then the ability for the Soul player to walk up and throw something at the objective is less likely. GunTeR needed to be the first one to move. Instead, he was the first one to follow, which means Marky Sparky's the leader and the stealer, and that is a better look here, shortening the lead to 1,000.
He played for the kill rather than for the zone, right?
Exactly.
And that's what hurts him there in that last engagement. VGSGods, though, do finally show us some signs of life by getting Marky Sparky involved in one of these fights. Again, I think that's going to be a pretty big win condition for them, as Drizzle in some trouble. Geb Shield comes out from Vexuri to keep him standing, but OutCold have to stop all the nonsense they were doing around this Pyromancer. Won't be happening any longer.
I love this Height of the Urchin coming out from Drizzle for sure. It's awkward because this is a damage Vamana, but this early investment into the Height of the Urchin in a game that will likely have a whole lot of kills just because of the compositions and the way game number 1 went, this is where you want to get it. You need about 4 or 5 stacks in order for the Height of the Urchin to actually make sense as an item versus some of the other options that you could have actually purchased. So for Drizzle to purchase it this early, anticipating a couple of team fights, I like it, but he's definitely doing less damage than he could be. That said, a nice little lead here for him, 8,000 overall, 3 on the list. I guess this is the time where you take a dip.
Be some trouble now for GunTeR Warrior as he is being collapsed on. He's forced to use the Mystic Rush defensively, so Bevy uses Lord of the Afterlife into the tier 1 to chase him down. Not much kill potential there. Just Lion comes in, finds a nice impale on the Vexuri, but Drizzle deletes him. I like the play, Just Lion, but it costs you the life on that one. He ends up falling, and VGSGods finally have a 5v4 advantage. We'll see if they can capitalize.
Another stack for Drizzle. That's exactly what VGSGods want to do. They want to enable this Vamana to get big and start fighting. He's going to be one of their main options here for VGS as they get aggressive. Either OutCold can keep the mages at bay and not Drizzle, or they control Drizzle and allow the mages to kind of free cast from the backline. Drizzle's choice of itemization and how successful he's been will force OutCold Gaming to make what I call the impossible decision, and that's the goal of every MOBA. Force your opponent to make a decision where neither side will be perfect because there's always a pointy and sticking you on the other end. That's the goal for VGSGods. Dive our backline and our front line messes you up, or keep our front line at bay and Marky Sparky and ECLPTX can just fire from beyond.
19 minutes into this one, and Tom, I want to compare when we think these comps will be strong. I mean, Geb, Thoth, and Soul, that tells me that this is a team that's happy to play it later on in the match as opposed to like an Anhur, Horus, and Ravana from OutCold. Have they done enough in this early game to where you have confidence OutCold can close this one out later into this tough comp from VGS?
Absolutely. OutCold Gaming have a fantastic... Oh, you're talking about OutCold Gaming. The answer is no then.
Right.
OutCold Gaming have a middle-of-the-pack team for sure, meaning, a middle-of-the-game team. They are looking to play during the mid-game for sure. Every single one of these characters, sans set, are looking to fight pretty much now in the past 5 minutes. VGSGods, on the other hand, have kept things within 1,000 to 2,000 gold, which is the ideal situation. And as they go into the late game, like you said, Marky and ECLPTX are going to be monsters. Even the Vamana, keeping in mind both the itemization and the fact that that Urchin will get better and better as fights go on.
This could potentially be a potential problem for OutCold later on. I think the later this goes, the less they would be considered favorites. So FataliTyxFire dives into the back line. Could be a sitting duck now, but nobody willing to collapse onto him except for Bevy, who continues the chase. ECLPTX way in the back of the fight where you want him, but Just Lion has stepped up aggressively, knowing that the Horus ult from Dragon King was coming through. He dies for ECLPTX, forces out the Geb Shield, forces out the Supernova, and is able to dab to reposition. GunTeR Warrior diving into the back line, gets the Cataclysm out from Vexuri, and FataliTyxFire finds ECLPTX.
He's out of the tower here, only with one.
Oh my
There's going to be
goodness.
the double kill. Still looking for more as the ultimate just now fades away.
A triple kill now for FataliTyxFire. Someone's got to slow down this set. GunTeR Warrior still alive for now, but Bevy knows that he has to try and stay on top of this set, or he can keep turning the fights around. But now Bevy's been stunned, Bevy's been knocked up, and Just Lion's found the 4th kill of this game. OutCold storm over VGS.
There was no tactics there whatsoever. VGSGods actually have the better team fight. They isolate Dragon King because he goes a little bit too deep without his team. That said, Dragon King has the dash available, dashes to his teammates, saves it, and then Set comes through and just wins the fight. FataliTyxFire, 7-1-2. What else do you want to say?
No Colossal Fury, no dash, and that spells the end for Drizzle. That means back to the FG goes OutCold, and this one should be confirmed here for them. The first big objective of the game for the team wearing red. And Tom, I mean, we were just saying how the late game for VGSGods looked really strong. OutCold, we're going to have to make a play. And FataliTyxFire manufactures one, creates one in the middle lane where there was nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, game number 1, it was just Lion making these plays, and you might say, no, it was Raiden, but it really was just Lion. It was just Lion saying, hey, Jizzle, come get me, come get me, come get me. Just kidding. Backflip into 3-man route, and then Raiden was able to do whatever he wanted. Here, we see DragonKing go a little bit too deep, dash backwards, GunTeR Warrior roots somebody, and FataliTyxFire says, thank you very much, like he's in line at Chick-fil-A. Kills down 1, kills down 2, kills down the 3rd after an extended vacation, and the 4th comes. Just Lion takes it, sure. But I mean, FataliTyxFire off of the back of the support of some of his frontline teammates. Chef's kiss. That is ordered up and served. You said, OutCold Gaming need to make a play kind of like now. And they were like, gotcha, Chief. And they just did it.
Yeah, good recognition there from OutCold. And I mean, and DragonKing has had a monstrous set here so far, man.
DragonKing is the guy!
I don't know, man. It might be worth banning this Horus away from him if your other team's looking at OutCold later on because he's played like such a monster. He starts that off with his ultimate in. That's why Just Lion was so far forward by that tier 2 tower looking for impales, because he knew he was about to get back up, and that's set up for the rest of the team to push in. They'll now grab this tier 2 tower on the left-hand side. I mean, look at this push. DragonKing's going to push up the waves all the way in right. You just saw FataliTyxFire start to push up the wave in middle, and they got the tier 2 in left. Suddenly, VGSGods are going to be overwhelmed when there's minions in all 3 lanes.
When you look at DragonKing, this is the type of character that he wishes he could play, because he plays a lot of Geb and he plays a lot of Horus, and I feel like the Geb was the character before Horus that came. All right, I want to do this initiation, I want to find these roots, and then he finds the dash with Horus. It's everything he asked for and more.
Tier 2 tower trying to be done the old-fashioned way. A 4-man push him out cold, and VGSGods not going to give it up for free. And I do think this is likely the right call to defend on these tier 2s.
I have to agree, mainly because of the numbers advantage. DragonKing is not available, and VGSGods see that. He could be lurking and looking for an ultimate, but I'm unconcerned. Once all 5 players are here, that's when I want to back up, and VGSGods are playing this correctly. I hate Drizzle's positioning. That's a very bad spot to be in versus an Anhur, but he gets away with it because OutCold are more concerned with backing off.
VGSGods show a bit of a soft defense on that tier 2 tower, but not really full in committing. I think that's the right way to play it. 8,000 gold now in the lead for OutCold Gaming, and they'll make that even worse if they grab this tier 2 tower on the right-hand side as well. I do want to see them try and make at least one Phoenix push, but I don't know, they're running out of time on this, another minute or so with the Fire Giant, so they might have to settle for all these tier 2s.
Settle for a tier 2 is absolutely no problem. Looking at what they're able to execute here in week number 8, not a surprise, because as I said, going back week number 7, week number 6, DragonKing has been lights out. And I maintain good teams are built on the backbone of strong supports. I think you can come out here with Basket in your solo lane, or your jungle, or whatever the hell you want, and absolutely look flashy and look fun. But how do you win consistently? You need a strong support. Now, I don't say frontline, because I'm down for some knock support. I'm down for some oddball support. But as long as you have utility characters that can set your strong men up, that is how you find wins, not just in the short term, but the long term. And watching this OutCold Gaming team, I brought up weeks past, watching them kind of make their swing into a team kind of worth talking about. This has been really powerful. Just Lion has been a spearhead of this unit, absolutely. But DKJ has been the backbone, the corner key, whatever you want to call it. He is the man that it's all built on, the foundation.
A strong game from OutCold here so far. Doug, can we see healing really quick before we get into this next engagement? I mean, 5,600 is not a ton from this Chang'e. I mean, the Horus has done almost the same amount, but we are going to start getting into the point in the game where I think that's going to be a lot more, and there's not a ton of anti-heal here. I mean, we do have the Pestilence, a couple Divine Ruins, a Curse Donk picked up as well. Maybe those will be enough. Do you see Raidunw being able to contribute a lot in the healing department, or is this more about the ult?
It's more about the ultimate for sure. The out-of-combat healing, I think, is where Raidunw's going to come through in the clutch. His ability to back off, heal, wait, hand on hip, heal, wait, hand on hip, and then dish forward again is what you're looking for. And VGSGods have proven to OutCold, which is, again, the second reason why I like this Chang'e that's less kind of first and foremost. VGSGods like to clump up. They've been hit by multi-hit abilities before, so yeah, give me the waxing moon and just wax 4 players at a time. VGSGods are down to clump, they are down to stunned.
OutCold Gaming force out the Colossal Fury from Drizzle. That's such a big tool when you're trying to strip away the FG. I imagine they'll rush right over now knowing they don't have to worry about that big team fighting ultimate. And that's just from Drizzle chilling in the middle lane for some reason, hanging out. OutCold recognize it, they commit just enough to force the ult, and now they can head over to FG. Probably weren't going to get contested much anyway, but way less likely now.
OutCold Gaming is unlikely to have done this on purpose, Finch. But since that early Hide of the Urchin pickup, which has been about 10 minutes now, this Vamana finishes Hide of the Urchin around 16, 17 minutes. 2 stacks in total. Now, I don't think OutCold Gaming have shied away from team fighting because they hit tab and realized that there's a Hide of the Urchin on the jungle of Vamana. I don't think that's why they shied away from it, but sometimes you do get a little bit lucky, and I think that's absolutely what happened here. Just their navigation around has kept Drizzle's stacks at bay, and now the itemization is just not good. 2 stacks out of Hide of the Urchin, a late game Ichabod, you're not talking to me with that.
ECLPTX, the early target yet again. Those are the beads forced out from him, and he has to dash all the way beyond the Phoenix, so they dive on him again, and this time he won't have the relics to help. Aegis buys him a moment, and FataliTyxFire dies early on. Final Judgment turnaround from ECLPTX keeps him alive. He's played this team fight as well as possible. Raidunw now drops as well. Just Lion dashes in, but he's now dropped 2. That's 4 kills for VGS. They may have lost their Phoenix, but that's a deicide, and they send out cold packing.
Hey, Marky Sparky, you say you asked me, I think about 10 minutes ago, you know, is Marky Sparky ready to make a play? And I was like, absolutely not. He needs some more time, even though at that time, Marky Sparky was level 15, level 16. Now, level 20, he's got the ring that I was asking for. And then some. The Telkine's also doing some nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Big damage for VGSGods. This is their timing swing. This is when they're expected to play and expected to make damage make players feel their damage. They're able to get this mid lane. Look at the respawns. I don't know if they can get a Titan.
FataliTyxFire will be up in 5 seconds. That'll be before this Phoenix is done. He'll be the only one there to have GunTeR Warrior in backup, so they will be there to defend. I'm a bit surprised they don't at least try for the mid Phoenix. Very likely to be able to get that one, but they fall off instead. But Tom, I think OutCold were too all in on that Phoenix defense. They've got the Chang'e and the Horus. Couldn't they try and whittle down instead?
That was absolutely OutCold Gaming getting way too excited. And, you know, I said how DragonKingJagia was the guy that this team is built on, but I mentioned Just Lion being the captain and the brains of the operation, and I maintain that. If we were to go back and watch that team fight, which we're not, we could see that Just Lion the entire time on the Phoenix. He knows the job his team needs to do. OutCold Gaming needed the pressure past the Phoenix, but how deep, how hard they went was a little problematic. You get your beads out of ECLPTX, you fall back. You see where Marky Sparky's at, you dive him, you fall back. Just Lion did the right thing, finds the damage onto the Phoenix, the objective goes down, but at what cost, as an old friend would say. That's where VGSGods were able to bite back. So I 100,000 trillion% agree with you there. Just a little bit too deep for OCG. Follow Just Lion.
I do like the target selection, though. They were on ECLPTX for most of that fight. They got the Aegis first, then the beads first, then the Aegis to follow up. But I think all that stuff could be done, as you said, without quite that heavy-handed commitment from them. So they'll have another chance. That wasn't the end of anything. They didn't lose a Phoenix off the back of that, which is huge, I think. Right. It did close this gold gap a good bit. Instead of being, you know, near 10K, we're much closer to 6 or 7 or 5K in that range instead. So VGSGods have kind of closed this gap, but not entirely. OutCold still in control.
It makes this a competition.
Right.
I think that OutCold Gaming, we're doing what I call going through the motions. You're like, all right, we got a 12,000 gold lead. In order for them to win, I have to unplug my mouse, or unplug my controller. So I'm gonna just do it. We're gonna get a fire giant. We're gonna kill them on the right side. We're gonna get the towers. We're gonna get the Phoenix. We're gonna back off. We're gonna buy. We're gonna get a Primal Fury. We're gonna get some more Phoenixes. Then we're gonna walk in and kill the Titan. And that will take 10 minutes, but that's just the nature of the game. Now we've got a competition. Now VGSGods can absolutely fight into this. Now they can not only play defense, they can play offense, John Finch. VGSGods can fight on this next fire giant. They can, and they should.
I feel like they should wait till it's here, though, right? I mean, this
Yes,
fight that's happening,
I agree.
where there is no Fire Giant, could potentially be risky for them. That's the Desert Fury from Just Lying early. Drizzle comes to the back line. Remember, he has Hasten Katana, so he can stick to his target. FataliTyxFire has dove and has no backup, but is able to survive for a moment, not long enough. ECLPTX finds that first kill. GunTeR Warrior will be dropped as well from Drizzle, who managed to get things done. Drizzle able to retreat, and VGSGods make this skirmish work.
Now, that is the wrong place to fight. OCG and VGSGods kind of both get okey-doked there. I like this call to chase. VGSGods identified it. This is their moment to strike. It's a 5-on-3. They can't catch up, though. Fire Giant spawning in 9 seconds. Blue team have control of the pit.
And they should be able to grab it. Bevy can, of course, take the back here, has the teleport to return here shortly.
What's happening?
Hopefully, they'll keep a few members nearby to go grab
What's
this
happening?
Once it spawns.
Do
right?
the Fire Giant.
Of course they will. I mean, how can
Do
they do
the
anything
Fire
different?
Giant.
There's no way, right? Like, yeah, they'll do this.
This is the wrong call from VGS. You do the Fire Giant, it's enhanced, so it's difficult to pull, but once you get it, you then take advantage of just Lion and the team, because it's literally 5-on-3.
At the very least, force them in and try and make them make a difficult decision this time. VGSGods now controlling the space around this Fire Giant pit, but still not ready to start things up just yet. Remember in that last fight, FataliTyxFire goes in by himself up against 4, but this late in the game, I don't know if he has quite as much kill potential as he once did.
That was one of the big things for OutCold Gaming that made that go awry. FataliTyxFire was so far away from the rest of the team that nobody really could help him out. VGSGods just had to turn and burn because everyone else is out of range. Target prioritization is one of the more difficult things to do in a team fight, but if the only target you can feasibly hit is right in front of you, it's really not that big of a decision. You just turn and burn. And we watched Set invite that upon himself.
Now we have a 5-on-5 around the Fire Giant instead of the 5-on-3. No beat for Drizzle. And no teleport for FataliTyxFire won't be a big deal. The Aegis missing for Just Lying's bigger, but Horus is in the sky. DragonKing looking for a place to land, and it's dissecting the fight. There's 4 members here, so they're going to swarm in all at once. Supernova does come out from Marky Sparky early on, but that's the Frenzy popped as well. ECLPTX low, but he's still alive and doing his damage. He does get the kill on the Raidunw, but DragonKing returns the favor. Just Lion now drops to the hand of Drizzle, who wants to try and find GunTeR Warrior isolated. FataliTyxFire gets a kill, but Drizzle finds a double. It's 3 for 2 in favor of VGS.
VGSGods still going for it. FataliTyxFire firing off of some of the skewers on the left side. DragonKing should be all right. Once again, OutCold Gaming dropped the ball, and it happens for multiple reasons. A, FataliTyxFire way too far away from the rest of the team fight. 2, ECLPTX doesn't die like he has been the majority of this time. X, DragonKing is forced to finish off ECLPTX. He's unable to help his teammates, so they're dying on the outside. And then Alpha, Beta, Gamma, we just see everything go VGSGods' way because Drizzle is able to play individual talents on the outside. Everything OutCold Gaming have done to amass their lead, both in game number 1 and 30 minutes of this game, have come off of the fact that FataliTyxFire is never outside of range of DragonKingJagia, and Just Lion is able to provide powerful output without being threatened by the backline. VGSGods counter both of those issues and take the team fight tenfold. It is a tie game in my mind right now, John Finch. The gold's separated by about 6,000, but we're at the point in the game where players are waiting for high, expensive potions and stuff. This is OutCold Gaming saying, we got bored, please fight us on an even keel, because there's no other world where I see this being a reasonable kind of response.
And I'm wondering how much of this is the Chang'e. I've been watching your player damage numbers all game, and they've been insane from Raidunw all game, second on his team, only to FataliTyxFire. But I'm wondering if that's deceptive. It's like if it's like 100 to everybody every fight instead of a lot on a priority target, then I don't think that's enough. It's felt to me like this Chang'e has not been able to match long lane value here in this game.
I agree. Chang'e was a great pick. Chang'e was an arguably strong pick for the laning phase. Now in team fights, you're getting fantastic setup from the ultimate, but it's Just Lion and FataliTyxFire. FataliTyxFire does the damage without that setup, and Just Lion has been successful. He's being helped out by the Chang'e for sure. I'm with you. Not my favorite position shift.
Not quite sure if there's been enough value there. I'm trying to keep my eye on Raidunw a little bit better this next fight as GunTeR Warrior's going right to the back to try and slow down Ecliptic, but Just Lion has Drizzle on him. Raidunw gets the kill credit this time, and a much better Waxing Moon. Marky Sparky survives, but has FataliTyxFire sitting on top of him to clean up one more kill. Raidunw getting some nice peel from DragonKing that's much needed here at this point, and there's the big time heals from the Chang'e.
There's a big difference in this one that Geb was controlled on the back line. Now Bevy trying to take care of business, and Drizzle shows up as well. Anti-heal will stop the Vamana.
If they are able to get to Raidunw, but I don't know that Raidunw's the priority target here at this point. Just Lion's the one that will do the damage to the structures. If OutCold were to win this fight, big knock-up, and Drizzle ends up falling. Just Lion finds Vexuri, and now Bevy is going to fall as well. Finally, a big team fight where Just Lion survived for a deicide and a double kill, and that just might be it for OutCold.
It could be good enough for game here. Ecliptix will spawn earliest as he was the first one killed 15 seconds from now, and Marky Sparky does as well. OutCold Gaming will have a fight under this Phoenix, but I think the Phoenix is gone. The Titan, I expect to see OutCold peel back.
It could be difficult. I mean, Marky Sparky and Ecliptix both are going to be up in time for a defense. Oh, they're trying to see if they can maybe catch Ecliptix coming up to defend with this Horus ultimate. And that's the evade and punish! So now it's a hit for sure, but the Horus ultimate had already been committed elsewhere. But he doesn't have them dash, allow him reposition anyway. Aegis has already been used, impaled in the middle of Final Judgment, which means now they'll have to trickle in Marky Sparky the next one, and right side Phoenix goes down.
13 seconds till the support and 11 seconds till Vamana. The Phoenix goes down and retreats. That's the right call. Now OutCold Gaming have to play this slower. Before, they had this giant lead. They were able to kind of play fast and loose. Not the option. Now they have to kind of turn back the clock and play fundamentals and do the game kind of the right way. Because it does feel like OutCold Gaming have gotten into a lot of issues because they're just trying to bring it home. They're just trying to end the game real fast. And I don't think that's in the cards. They haven't realized that the composition for VGSGods is tilted in this way. You're right. The game has been mad easy up until this point. Just walk in and end it, because the ending should be easy too. But VGSGods are stronger in the late game than they were in the two previous phases, mid and early. So you're right. The early and the mid game were really easy. So sure, we walk it in? No. The late game's going to be more difficult because of the draft that VGS has. That's to be expected. OutCold Gaming did not prepare for that. They did not play as if they were expecting that. And now they've realized it. They're falling back on their heels, and they're kind of bringing it back to square one.
Big fight for OutCold as we cross over the 30.5-minute threshold here at this point. To me, the big difference I felt like, though, was that Just Lion just got to live that time.
Yes.
He's been under a lot of duress in these team fights. To me, Just Lion for OutCold and then Ecliptix for VGSGods, these two middle laners are the ones that have been so important in these late-game team fights. And if they can survive long enough to do their, sustained damage, repeat their kits, then usually their team wins.
The big difference between this fight, you're right, Just Lion survives because FataliTyxFire is there. GunTeR Warrior dives way too deep, and so FataliTyxFire's like, I guess I gotta stay here. DragonKing's there as well, and Just Lion is players he can fall back onto. If it's just 1v1, Just Lion has the confidence to take that. We saw him handle Drizzle in the jungle. But when it's team fight on team fight, he needs at least one frontliner next to him.
For what it's worth, Marky Sparky has now passed Ecliptix in terms of damage in this game, so is coming into that late game form that you were advertising earlier on. As the left side Phoenix will be the defense, and Ecliptix on this Thoth should give VGS a pretty good chance to defend.
That's the thought process.
The thought process.
Hey.
Thanks, man. That was bad, but thank you for saying it.
That was a...
Productions also told me to stop. Understood. Got it.
I've made that joke many times.
Yeah, it's not great. Low on the backline to Ecliptix, but everyone has their relics 10 seconds away from Aegis being back up for Ecliptix here, so as long as OutCold Gaming wait a second or two, then everyone should have all the tools they need for this siege.
40 minutes in, though, I think the carry for VGSGods is the soul of the team.
Drizzle quite low in the middle lane, being dashed on by DragonKing. I like this. No hard commit. If you catch him, catch him. If not, then just stay back so you can make another push. OutCold probably feeling like they could have ended this one sooner, but now they have to make sure they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's as DragonKing makes the dive. Just Lion sticks to the middle Phoenix. Bevy dives back to catch it, but he jumps in place. That secures the mid Firebird falls. FataliTyxFire chasing Marky Sparky all the way back to the fountain, doesn't find it, and GunTeR Warrior loses his life.
FataliTyxFire chasing to the fountain is totally fine. It took Soul out of the game, and that lets the tier 3 tower, the Phoenix, fall down.
Drizzle, ECLPTX, Vexuri, and Marky Sparky all still alive. But OutCold Gaming considering re-engaging. Raidunw stepping so far forward by himself. This is bold, maybe even too bold, and Aegis keeps him alive for a second, but Marky Sparky finds the first kill, finally gets traded out by FataliTyxFire. He's been the monster all game long. Can this set keep it going?
It's going to be on the back of Just Lion. 3 players here. We've got to fall back. OutCold Gaming are not listening to their own calls. Just Lion was already by the red buff when the team re-engaged. Raidunw is not paying attention.
Another great setup there from DragonKing, sets up for Just Lion to find another kill, 3v2. It's just ECLPTX and Vexuri to try and defend up against 2 waves. A Fireman is pouring in for the right Titan at half HP. There's the Frenzy popped as well, and OutCold get it done 2-0 over VGS.
Ooh. Kind of scary there towards the end. VGSGods were totally bringing out what they needed to play defense, and all it took was one team fight. If VGSGods were able to delete the opposition off of a bad incursion, they could turn around, walk up mid, and take the game. Playing with fire there, but I mean, sometimes you get burned, sometimes you cook dinner.
That's right, and this time they certainly did cook that dinner out cold, or the ones who come out as the winner in that game. And I do want to give a ton of credit, I think, to Just Lion, but man, I mean, I think really DragonKing might just straight up be the MVP of the set for OutCold. He played so monstrously on the Horus in both of these games. Tons of setups, tons of peel for his team. Wherever they needed him, he seemed to be there.
Got to agree, and like I said, he's been somebody I've been looking at for weeks now. The Horus is kind of out of control. The Geb, when he gets
41,000 damage, 50,000 mitigated. That can't be right. Both of them?
Yeah, man.
That's real good.
It's insane.
That's real good, huh?
Yeah.
Fan set, guys.
DragonKing has been fantastic for me. Definitely a high point here, and Just Lion. Like I said towards the end, as they won, I was kind of lamenting the team fight and the communication.
Sure.
Sorry, negative as you win is a bad look. But Just Lion goes against his own call, comes back in and wins the game. Just Lion and DragonKing are 2 unstoppable players.
Yeah, well, this is a set that I think explains why we play the game. There are a bunch of times where it felt like maybe the fights or choices weren't maybe exactly what you'd expect to be correct, but they would work out for both teams. So very impressive here in PS4 EU. OutCold come out up top 2-0. We still have Xbox EU, though, to come up next. Rival has a big set after the break.